Okay, Katie, now we're official, so thanks for taking time out to talk with us. I just wanted to start off by seeing if you've been to Atlantic City before, and if you've ever appeared there or just visited, or.
I went to Atlantic City once years ago, but I was only there a few hours, so I'm actually really looking forward to having a whole weekend there and to checking out Revel. I'm coming with a few of my girlfriends, and we're just going to make it a girls' weekend.
You'll be hosting the kickoff party, and then will you be attending other events as well?
Yes, that's right. So I'm having a kickoff party. It's a cocktail party, and we will have copies of my cookbook, and we're serving different hors d'oeuvres and cocktails of my recipes. And it'll really be a time for people to kind of mix and mingle with the other chefs. All of Revel's chefs will be there, and there's a great list of people who are coming. Everybody from Mark Forgione, who's an Iron Chef, and he has a steakhouse there. There's Luke Palladino, Michael Williams, so a really great group.
And have you decided which recipes you might be doing or cocktails? Can I mention a few things if you know?
Yeah, we're going to serve my deviled eggs. I make deviled eggs every time I have a party at my house, so we say it's not a party without my deviled eggs. So we're going to have those. I think we're also doing some mini versions of some of my dishes. I'm not exactly sure which ones we've decided on, but I think maybe mini chicken pot pies. I'm really into comfort food, so that's my favorite kind of food. But then all the other chefs will have their recipes as well.
And what do you like about these kinds of events?
I really enjoy meeting people who are interested in food. I'm kind of a food geek, so the other people who come to events like this are kind of the same. So it's really fun for me to talk to them and hear about what they like to cook, and also it gives me an opportunity to kind of do some unscientific market research and find out what kind of recipes people want to be making at home. So it helps me with my writing of recipes to kind of understand what people are looking for and the things that they like to cook.
I saw that you have this a philosophy of sort of conscious consumption. So I'm curious if you could sort of talk about that, what that means.
Yeah, so I say that I practice conscious consumption, and that's being aware of what you're eating, how it was raised, how it got to your plate, how it affects not only you but ultimately future generations as well. And I love comfort food, and to be comforted by my food, I need to know where it comes from. So that's why I call it conscious consumption. And I think that a lot of people are interested in eating that way these days.
So you can still have sort of a range of foods. It's just sort of being more aware of the origins of the food itself.
Exactly. And, it's not that I'm all about eating incredibly healthy food all the time. I like to indulge, but when I indulge, I tend to be more thoughtful about it. So if I'm going to have junk food, I like to make my own junk food. So if I'm really craving nachos, instead of opening a can of nacho cheese sauce, I'll make a homemade nacho cheese sauce, which is actually pretty easy to make. And then I know the ingredients that are in it, and I can control how much fat and how much salt and not have anything processed.
If you're used to eating processed foods, how do you sort of switch?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I grew up in an environment like I did. I'm from a really small town in West Virginia. We lived in the same neighborhood as my grandparents, my great-grandmother, my great-aunt and uncle. My grandfather had this amazing garden, and he had a cousin that raised cows and another cousin that raised pigs, and everybody just kind of shared their food. And my grandma was such an amazing cook. I think she's the best cook I know. I was able to grow up with this sense of eating local, seasonal, it was farm to table before farm to table was a term. That's just, we didn't eat that way because it was in style. We ate that way because that's just what we did, and it was economical. And I think that, in a lot of places in our country, it's really hard for people to have access to fresh vegetables and fruits. Either they're just not around or they can't afford it. But I think that it's something you really have to make an effort to do. It's so much healthier for your body, and it really does taste better. And, a lot of communities now are having farmers markets pop up, and that's a great thing to do on the weekends. Go to a farmer's market, buy some vegetables, and come home and kind of figure out what to make with it. Make it a family activity, get kids involved. Kids are much more likely to eat different foods if they have a hand in making it.
A little bit about Top Chef. I know you were the host of the first season. Did you have any sense that will become, such a phenomenon when you were working on the show?
Yeah, I hosted the first season, which was a great experience, and really none of us had any idea that the show would become a phenomenon. We didn't know if it would last for 2 episodes or if it would get the whole season, and we certainly didn't think that it would be such a big hit. But I think that just goes to show how interested people are about food these days. People are really into food, and shows like that can have a lot of success now. Because there is such an appetite for food television.
And do you have any regrets?
That Top Chef just wasn't the right fit for me. It wasn't the right time for me, and being part of competition with food, it wasn't the right thing for me. It wasn't for them, and it wasn't for me either. So it was kind of like when you say you have a mutual breakup, that's kind of out.
And why do you think that, you're saying that food is such a sort of popular topic and food television is such a big deal, and why do you think that is?
Well, I actually think people are cooking at home more. I think that people, because of all of the media around it, I think people are more interested in cooking at home. They might not be able to every night because of their jobs, and, people have, a lot of things that they have to do these days. So they might not get to cook as much as they'd like to, but I think people are trying things more and more, and I think that food shows and articles and, all the attention that food gets now, I think it gives people more confidence to try it and to get in the kitchen, maybe try an easy recipe, and then gain their confidence and try something else. People always tell me, I buy cookbooks all the time, but I don't really use them. I just like to look at the pictures. But that also gives people inspiration. They might not make that exact recipe, but they might look at it and say, she made that chicken with pancetta. I think I'll do it, but I'll try it with bacon. So it just gives people inspiration.
Do you plan to tackle fiction again, or was that just like a one-time thing that you tried that?
I loved writing my novel. It was a lifelong dream to write a novel. When I was a kid, I was not very athletic at all. So I would take creative writing classes in the summertime while all of my friends were playing softball. And I had tried so many times to write a novel, and I thought that it had to be about food. So I'd write about a girl who worked in a bakery or a girl who was a chef, and just no story would stick. And I was getting divorced, and I wanted to do something to get out of my comfort zone, just to get out of myself. And so I decided to try surfing because I was afraid of the ocean. So I signed up for a surf lesson, and I loved it, and I started doing it more and more, and I was getting out of the water one day, and I had the idea for Groundswell, and I realized I didn't have to write a book that was about food. I could write about whatever I wanted, fiction, and, write what, So this was like what I was experiencing at the time, and so I was able to take it and transform it into a story. And I went in the house and started writing. I just didn't stop, and I had a book, and so it was like one of my proudest accomplishments. Like I'm just so happy that came to fruition, that dream. And I would love to write fiction again someday. And I still toy around with different ideas, but it's kind of like love. When you're looking for it, it doesn't happen. It has to just hit you at just the right time, and then you'll find the story. Yeah, I'm tinkering with a few ideas, but nothing set in stone yet.
And what about writing another cookbook? Is that something that you're thinking about too?
Yeah, I kind of thought after my second one, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I don't think I can do another cookbook. And just in the last couple weeks, I've started thinking about doing another one, and it's something that I'm probably going to do. I'd like to do something that is a little on the healthier side, and more, like healthier comfort foods. I'm just, I'm really happy to be working with Revel for next weekend. I'm really looking forward to going to Atlantic City, and there's still tickets available, so if people want to come. I think it'll be a great weekend, and I guess that's it.
Okay, Katie. Well, thanks so much for taking a little time out to chat. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot.